If you think about the franchises that dominate pop culture, they all have one thing in common: iconic symbols and characters. Star Wars has lightsabers and Darth Vader, Marvel has Iron Man, the Infinity Gauntlet, Captain America's shield. Harry Potter has wands, the Hogwarts houses, and Dumbledore. These symbols become shorthand for entire fandoms. They're easy to quote, easy to meme, and most importantly, easy to recognise. But what about Avatar? What's the quote everyone remembers from Avatar? What's the symbol? What's the piece of imagery that people cosplay year after year on a wide scale? Outside the Na'vi themselves, there really isn't one. Most people remember Avatar for the world, not the symbols, for the glowing forests, the floating mountains, the creatures of Pandora. It's more of a sensory experience, not a quote this or dress like this franchise. That makes the film unforgettable in the cinema, but harder to hold on to in everyday culture. So how are these films so successful? Modern pop culture moves fast. Marvel has multiple projects every year. Star Wars has TV shows, games, books, theme parks. Even John Wick has its own spin-offs and prequels now. These franchises stay alive because they try desperately to never leave the conversation. Avatar, on the other hand, is very different. It waited 13 years between the first film and the second. That's basically an entire generation. I think it's also important to note what the cultural landscape looked like in 2009 when Avatar originally released. There was no TikTok, no Disney Plus, no cinematic multiverse formula. By the time The Way of Water arrived, the entire industry had changed. And yet, despite that enormous gap, the sequel made over $2 billion, and once again, earned multiple Oscar nominations. So clearly, audiences will still show up. But during those 13 years, there were no TV spin-offs, no animated series, no expanded universe novels dominating bookstore charts. There was nothing to keep Avatar alive in the daily conversation. The franchise disappears, then suddenly returns as a global event. In this modern era of discardable franchises, how was this even possible? Another reason Avatar fades from cultural memory is that its world isn't built the same way other mega franchises are. Think about how fans treat Lord of the Rings, hours spent reading maps of Middle-earth, studying Elvish languages, debating tiny details in the lore. Marvel fans debate multiverse structures, character arcs, post-credit clues. Star Wars fans have thousands of pages of canon, legends, timelines, and most importantly, theories. These worlds reward deep obsession. But Avatar is different. Its story uses universal themes: environmentalism, colonialism, family, tribal identity. These themes speak to everyone, and they're very simple to understand, but they aren't the type of things fans spend years dissecting. You don't see people arguing over Na'vi history the way they argue about Jedi philosophy. You don't see giant subreddits dedicated to Pandora lore. The world is beautiful, yes, but it's not built for fandom style engagement. And here's where the paradox gets interesting. On social media, Avatar feels quiet, but in the cinema, it absolutely explodes. The first Avatar became the highest grossing film in history. Then Way of Water released 13 years later and joined the top 5, passing Infinity War and Titanic on its way, with Fire and Ash projected for a huge $340 million opening weekend. But what about the fandom online? It wasn't flooding TikTok the way Barbenheimer did. It didn't dominate meme culture like Spider-Man No Way Home. And it hasn't generated debates like The Last Jedi or Joker. So what we're seeing is a split. Avatar is culturally quiet, but commercially massive. Millions of people show up to the cinema, but they don't carry the film into online spaces the same way other franchises do. It's almost like Avatar has offline fans instead of online fans, which in this day and age is unheard of for a movie blockbuster of this kind. And this is Avatar's appeal, the fact it's built for the big screen. This is an event movie. Most pop culture today is designed to be clipped, posted, memed and shared. Breaking Bad had found new life through various memes, which keeps it within the cultural conversation today. Marvel clips go insanely viral on TikTok, and films like Infinity War found even more success due to the fact Thanos was just memed so much. But Avatar isn't that kind of franchise. James Cameron is building films for a cinematic experience. Hyper detailed motion capture, high frame rate underwater sequences, massive scale 3D environments, and immersive sound design. None of that really translates well to a smartphone. You can't feel Pandora's world in a 10-second social media clip, or appreciate the underwater cinematography on a 6-inch screen. You can't compress a world built for immersion into a meme format. So in a culture driven by viral content, Avatar stays visually stunning but socially quiet. And this is the heart of the paradox. Moviegoers love going to Pandora. They love the experience, they love escaping into a world that feels real. But when they leave the cinema, there aren't many theories to debate. Not many unresolved mysteries, not many character arcs that fuel long-term speculation. And you can contrast this with debates post-releases such as who is Snoke or what will Thanos and the Avengers do next. These questions keep fandoms and ultimately hype in sequels alive. Avatar isn't built for questions though, it's built for transportation, a place to escape to and not a puzzle to solve. And that's what makes it a different kind of blockbuster. So why is Avatar one of the most perplexing franchises in pop culture? It appears to be doing exactly the opposite of all other movie blockbusters that are now released in this day and age, but is actually the most successful one out of them all. And I think that's because it succeeds where modern franchises rarely do. It's thriving in cinemas, not on social media. It dominates the box office, but not the algorithms. It creates a world you can't stop thinking about, even if you can't quote a single line from it. Avatar is the last of a dying breed, a franchise designed for spectacle, immersion, and cinematic awe, and not for memes, fan theories, or constant online discussion. It's quiet in daily culture, but a giant every time the lights go down. And maybe that's the real magic of it. Maybe Avatar doesn't need to dominate pop culture because it already dominates the place that matters the most, the big screen.